ago in a small town of Masvingo, right here in Zimbabwe, in a family of 6 siblings, that is 5 boys and 1 girl. At a very early age, we moved from Masvingo to Mufakose for a little while. I think we stayed about there for about 2 years there, and moved to Kambuzuma, where I stayed there for about 5 years. It was during that time my father passed away in 1977, and shortly after that the family moved to a lower density suburb of Mabelreign. It was more or less an ordinary life until, the death of my father. When I was growing up, I was listening to a lot of old music from my father's side, because my father liked a lot of the Beatles music, a lot of the Temptations. And as I was growing older, I was introduced to rap music. I remember I was so much into the Furious 5, the Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5. I also listened to a lot of jazz music, a lot of blues. One particular artist who made an impact on me was Luther Vandross. I really liked his music, and I think in a big way he influenced my style of singing, my love for ballad music. Locally, I grew around the time when Thomas Mapfumo, Oliver Mtukuzi were very popular then, and I liked both artists. I know there was a rivalry between them, but that didn't affect me because I liked both artists. There was also, I remember the comic side of things. There was Safirio Manzikati, Mkadota fame. We grew up, a lot of us liking that, the drum and all the humor that was in it. And as usual, as a normal kid growing up in the ghetto at that time, we liked a lot of soccer. There was a lot of soccer, a lot of football, a lot of friends. Considering that my father died when I was only 8 years old, I was devastated. In fact, I was confused in the beginning because I didn't know what death meant at the time. Because the little I remember about him, he was sick most of the times. He was diagnosed to have a brain tumor, and most of the times he was up and down, going to the hospital, medication and all that. And I think a little later in December, just towards Christmas of that year, when people were making preparations for Christmas, I remember we got the news during a weekend when we were at home, and everyone was crying. At that time, I didn't manage to cry because I was confused at the time what was going on. Why my mother was crying and everyone else was in tears. Until they brought my father, his corpse, and we were supposed to. He was supposed to be taken to our communal home in Shirugwi. That's when things all came to light to me. That my father had passed away. It took a while for me to accept that and to absorb that. It was quite difficult because I've learned throughout life that a father figure is important to everyone. You need guidance. You need a role model. You need someone to show you the way. I mean, to guide you, to encourage you in different. I mean, the things you meet up with when you're growing up. There are certain situations that are depressing, certain points in your life that you need support spiritually, physically, and when you don't have a father, that takes a toll on you. When everyone else is talking about their father at school, you are affected. Right? My mother played a big part in our lives. As, I mean, considering she was very young then, and she had lost her husband, and she was a housewife at the time. So she had to adjust in a lot of ways. I mean, to look after 6 children, to cater for all their needs. It was quite a task for her to pull through. So I appreciate what my mother did, I mean, in our lives. She ensured, I mean, through the hard work and sweat, she ensured that we all had all the education we could manage. It was up to us, really, that if we wanted to pursue anything in life, she was there to support us. I mean, she was running all over the place, trying to feed us, trying to look after us. So I think my mother took the role of being a father and a mother at the same time, and that was very difficult. If you listen to my songs, really, I appreciate, I mean, people who are mothers, especially who are in that condition, who have to look after their children, I mean, single-handedly, and have to go through all those challenges. That really touches my soul, because I went through the same thing through my life, and I would say we need all to give respect to our mothers and honor to them who are doing everything they can to look after their kids. I think the early years were quite normal and ordinary. I mean, if you compared with the other kids, I was just doing the ordinary thing. But like I mentioned earlier on, that after my father's death, then things changed. Because my mother was more into looking after the family, and we had to look after 6 siblings, 6 children. That meant she had less time with the family. So because of that, there were more influences, outside influences, I mean, on our characters and our personalities and all that. I, for instance, grew up, I was exposed to nightclubbing, I was exposed to drinking. Fortunately, I didn't smoke, and I've never smoked, because that didn't go down well with me. And I never did drugs. But we got into a lot of this drinking at an early age, and that affected a lot of my character as well. And fortunately, it's fortunate to say that I'm still alive today. Because if I had pursued that path any further, I wouldn't be here today. After completing my secondary school, I worked for a building society for a while, and I left to pursue a musical career. At first, it wasn't easy. After a few attempts here and there, I tried to approach certain prominent musicians, they were all closing the door on me. Until 1993, when I entered the talent show, Stardom. And that turned around things. Then I was introduced to my good friend Alpignati. And then he was so excited about hearing me perform there. I came third, by the way. So Alpignati suggested that he wanted me to feature on his album. He was working on an album then. So maybe if you watch this Senzenina song, I come up in the background there with Muzi of Calvin and Muzi from Bofara fame. We were working together at the time. So from there, I remember I met up with a girl called Alice Mtwalo, who was also working on a new project. And it was then that I had my first attempt at writing songs. And the first song I did was Utopia. And that basically talked about the desire to have a community that is a peaceful community. With that, a lot of offers came in. A lot of advertisers wanted my voice on several adverts. So that was exciting at that time. And on the other hand, Alice, who was working on the album, introduced me to who later on became my producer, Baba Dee. Baba Dee is a friend of mine who apparently was a doctor professionally, but who produced music as a hobby. But he was very good. He also produced the likes of the late Ndiri and a lot of other guys. But when he heard with me as well, when we were recording with Alice, straight away he said, I want to record you. Soon after we record Alice, we're recording you. So I was so excited about that. And right after we recorded Alice, I started with my song, Ray of Hope, which included the popular song then, Watoda Rugare. Apparently, Watoda Rugare I wrote, thinking about my past. I was trying to succeed in life, but then things were not as easy as I contemplated. So I found out the hard way that Watoda Rugare tango watoziva nami. And that was a factor that I was to discover later in life. And after that album, several albums later, I think the biggest break in my musical career came in late '98 when Baba Dee and myself and a couple of other musicians I invited came along to this project, Asambe Africa. There were the likes of Fortune Mparutsa, Willem Tite, Patience Musa, and Miriam Mandipia, and a lot of other guys. I don't recall at the moment, but they all, Kaole Sizwe, the group Kaole Sizwe with Chunky and them, they all came in, and we had a lot of fun doing this. And I remember when we did Pamuhacha, everyone was so excited. Pamuhacha was so natural when it came out. When we wrote it and we sang and everything just fell into place. And within a short while, when the album came out, everyone was talking about Pamuhacha. And that was a very exciting time for me and my friends as well. And it wasn't long, we were starting shows, we were playing all over Zimbabwe. We got into shows that introduced us to a lot of the music, people in the music industry. And that came in with a lot of other things as well. So it was, basically, I think I would say briefly, it was very exciting for me at that time. Right, one incident that I recall, after, my first album, if you recall, the first hit I had was Watoda Rugare. So immediately after the song was played on radio, I remember it was Kudzi on Radio 3. And I remember a few weeks after that, I was invited to perform at the Mayor's Christmas Cheer Fund. And that was one embarrassing point I would like to quickly forget. And it involved again that old lifestyle I was trying to get rid of. But then you can't avoid it when you're in the music industry. Music industry brings a lot of anxiety. So when I was invited there, it was my first time to perform in front of a large audience. And you can imagine, I was a typical shy guy who just wanted, we didn't want any attention. So this invitation I couldn't turn down. And it was only a few days before the thing, I was devastated. I didn't know what to do now. So what did I do? I decided to go drinking before the show. And it's a long story, but eventually it turned out very bad. Fortunately, that wasn't a much bigger crowd then who knew me, and it never blew out. But as I went on as well, there were similar incidences that I think a lot of people have the wrong conception of the so-called stars in music. When people get popular or are considered role models, the typical role model you see in music lives a double life. Because on one hand, you want to appear happy and glamorous to people. But in reality, in the real life, you are gloomy, you are sad. In most cases, you're depressed. That's why in a lot of cases, with a lot of musicians, they end up in drugs, they end up in very unstable lives. And that, in a big way, during even when I was, let's say, the highlight of my life, of my career, that affected me. The plastic life and the fake glory and the reality of things, I had to carry that for about 10 years. And that, the bottom line, I wasn't happy. It looked like I was happy on the outside, but in reality, I was a sad man who was drinking his life away with, through all the supposed success and the glory it's supposed to bring. You've seen a lot of stars who have gone on the same path. It's unfortunate that it's not as glamorous as people would like you to believe. There's a misconception about so-called role models that come out in the media. Once you are there in the limelight, everyone assumes you know everything, especially the songs you write about. Take for instance, if you write about love. If people like that love song, they automatically think you are an expert and love. But it doesn't go that way. Even if I write about a social thing, let's say about how people should, couples should be living together. I mean, the right way to live together. I can comment on that. And I would write what people are expecting me to write. What the general populace are thinking. That's what I'm expected to write. But it doesn't automatically make me an expert at that aspect of things. So what I'm saying is the media can have so much power of leading or misleading, especially the young ones, the youth. So this bears a lot on the artist. He has a lot of responsibility when he writes a song, when he puts it out into the public. He has a responsibility that if you are to portray as a particular personality and a character, you have to be careful, because a lot of the teenagers or the youngsters will follow that character. So I think it bears a lot of pressure on the artist. There's nothing wrong in the love of music. Music is good. Music is a spice of life. But like anything else, music can be abused. It can be used positively or it can be used negatively. So if we have the right goals, firstly, there is no way we can be misled musically. If we have the right intentions right from the start, music can work positively for us. Throughout my entire life, I'm one person who has been very inquisitive. I wanted to get a lot of answers in life. I had so many questions growing up. I mean, since my father died, I was confused, and I wanted to find out about the truth of things. I mean, as growing older, the questions increased. There were more questions in my life than answers. And right up to, I mean, at the end of my musical career in 2007, I mean, in the past I'd gone to church here and there occasionally, but I never had what I would term a relationship with God, really, until I'll say just after I stopped my musical career, I started pursuing a spiritual life. Soon after I stopped from performing live, and I would say basically stopping the music industry, I started pursuing a spiritual goal. I wanted to know more. I wanted to find answers of the questions I had all my life. My entire life I had so many questions, and that list was just getting longer and longer. So I decided to, maybe if I go to church, then I would find the real answers. But I didn't know where to go. So what did I do? I decided to visit a few churches, but all throughout there was still a void in me. Those questions were still hanging. They were not answered. So it was only, I think it was the start of 2007, right when I I met with one of the witnesses. In fact, he came to my house on a Saturday, I remember clearly, and he had I think a flyer, and he was talking about the kingdom. And funny enough, I had been discussing with the pastor of the church I was attending at that time about the kingdom, because I was questioning him about the kingdom, because I heard every time he was preaching, he would talk about the kingdom, that Jesus was talking about the kingdom when he came to earth, but never explained what the kingdom was. And that really confused me. My pastor was supposed to be vested with the Bible, didn't know exactly how to explain the Bible. I had a lot of questions. Remember, I had that list of things. I had written everything down throughout the years, all the questions I had. And even some of them were reflected in my songs. How long are we to have, or are we going to have in utopia? How long are we going to suffer? Those were the major issues that were right at the bottom of my heart. I wanted answers. And deep down I also knew that if I found those answers, then and only then would I be happy. So when I spoke to the brother there, the witness brother, and I don't know if it's okay if I mention his name, it was Brother Maramba. And fortunately up to now we're still in the same congregation. But going back to the story, when he came, he managed to answer my questions so easily using the Bible. And that surprised me. It was almost shocking. For instance, when I asked him about the dead, he referred to, I remember the scripture. It was Ecclesiastes. If you go to Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verse 5, the truth I found there was amazing. And it reads here, for instance, if you note, for the living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing at all, nor do they have any more reward, because all memory of them is forgotten. What does that mean? All along, all through my life, I thought the dead had some effect in my life. At least that was what I was told to believe. That was what all throughout life, that's what I was led to believe. But what was God saying? God was saying, the living, us, no, we're going to die. But the dead know nothing at all. So what's the bottom line? That the dead cannot affect me. They cannot harm me. So, for me, that was amazing. That was a life changer. I wanted to know more. So immediately I invited Brother Maramba to come back again. And we started a Bible study. The other exciting thing, or the exciting truth I got there, was the one that I've been struggling to get a hold of. The one that would be the solution to all men's problems. And that was the kingdom. I had previously looked all over for that answer. But what was our dear brother there, Mr. Maramba, going to say about the kingdom? He showed me again the Bible. And in the Bible, he referred to the common, or the verse we're all used to, the Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is done in the heavens. Those words, the kingdom, he explained that the kingdom is not what a lot of preachers are saying, is that the kingdom is in your heart. How can the kingdom be in my heart? That was my question. But one scripture that defeats all that, or puts the truth in the open, is Daniel 2, verse 44. If you take a listen, you'll see that the kingdom is a real government, a heavenly government. As it says here that Daniel 2, verse 44, it says, in the days of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed. And this kingdom will not be passed off to any other people. It will crush and put an end to all these kingdoms. And it alone will stand forever. I mean, if we look at this without any bias, this is straightforward. This straightforwardly makes the fact, or points out that the kingdom is a real government, but different from human governments, but a heavenly government. So when I read that, I knew definitely that I had found the truth. The truth had come to me. All along I was looking for the truth, but right now I was looking at the truth right in front of me. It had come to me. So if you want to hear more on this subject of the kingdom, there's only one place you can go to that will give you the truth like I got the truth. Go to jw.org. If you want to know more about the kingdom, coincidentally there's a publication that has just come out this month of November 2020. That's on jw.org. So you can Google on it, you can get more information on it, and you can even download some of the information. You can get a lot of information, and a lot of your answers will be, a lot of your questions will be answered. My experience, my experience from the early years, growing up without a father and having a single mother taking care of everything, taught me a lot. And even as I got to study the Bible and got to familiarize with my role as a father now, because I've got a lovely family, I got a beautiful wife, I got 3 children as well, 2 girls and 1 boy. So I think my experience and learning the Bible has helped me in a big way. And I would say, in other words, I've found that Rugare, Watoda Rugare, I was talking about in my earlier, or in my song, that Watoda Rugare, Tangwa Tuziva Namo. And in a big way, I've found eternal peace, a peace of mind in my life. Because I discovered that it's not about accumulating wealth that makes a person happy. It's not about the outside that makes a person happy, but the inside. What is in our minds and what is in our hearts. That's why the Apostle Paul, Philippians 4 verse 8, he is encouraging us to put only the good things in our minds. Fill our minds with good things, good thoughts. Think good things about your neighbors, your family, your friends. Look for the good things in life. In that way you avoid any confrontations or disputes with anyone. So I encourage really everyone to give it a thought. Study the Bible. It will help you in a great way, in a big way. It will change your life. It's not about a lot of things that the world is encouraging you to accumulate, but it's about having a good relationship with your Creator. Your Creator will guide you in the real peace, joy. And my past, I can't erase my past. You know, there's a lot, like I said, mentioned a few minutes ago, that there's a lot I learned from my past. The past is supposed to teach us and guide us where we need to clean up, to make things right. We learn from our past. There's no way we can ignore the past. And for me to be a better father, a better man, a better brother, a better neighbor, all comes from learning from my past mistakes and bettering everything, or cleaning up on my personality using the Bible, using God's guidance. God's guidance has made me the man that I am today. I'm happy. I'm gratified. I know where I'm coming from, and I know where I'm going. Right, my music is very much available. I've recently put it up on YouTube, so you can get the link. I think after this program or this talk, you can get the link and you can listen to the music. I think if you listen to the music, there was nothing wrong in most of the songs there, because they're only a reflection of the questions I had, my perspective on life. I was like what you call a social commentator. How I perceive the world is what is reflected in those songs.